We're both muted. Now we can do it. So welcome to Office Hours, everyone. It's February 9th, 2021.
Can't hear you.
Hopefully you all can hear me now. You hear me?
Sorry about this. One sec.
No, I can hear you. I'm hoping that Milton and TradeLast can now hear me now that I've unmuted myself. So good morning to everyone. Scott, are you able to hear us? Scott cannot hear. So I will. I'll continue to move forward until he can get his audio figured out. So good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Office Hours.
It's important to test.
Scott, I can hear you fine. But it sounds like maybe you can't hear me. As we do every Tuesday, I'm here to answer your questions about Alexa development. So if you guys have any pressing questions or anything for me or Scott, we would be happy to answer them for you. So in the meantime, while I wait for some of those questions to show up, I see JDPT 9402 is here. Good morning. We are broadcasting in two places today. So in addition to broadcasting on Twitch, Scott, you got it?
I got it.
Nice. Okay. So we're broadcasting in two places today, both in Twitch and in YouTube. So if you have a preference for where you'd like to watch, feel free. We're not going to stop broadcasting on Twitch. We like it there, but we thought we might be able to reach more people if we reached out to the YouTube audience as well. And so I think we may see a few people from YouTube as we go through this. But in the meantime, Scott, welcome, man.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So people haven't seen you before on here, so I'd love for you to kind of share what your title and role and everything is at Amazon.
I'm a developer advocate, and I'm the person that when you write in a contact us case that has to deal with trying to figure out how to get past certification, or if you have questions about like what works where, that's my team, and that's what
Awesome.
I do.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here, and mentioning that you're one of the people behind certification. I want to be careful about that. You're not actually the one doing the certification.
I don't certify things.
Right, because that would make you enemy number one around here.
That's right. Yeah, no, I help you. I can help you navigate the sometimes murky waters of the certification process. But yeah, no, I don't certify skills.
Right. You help people navigate the certification process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. And that's advocacy. That's perfect. That's what it's all about. So we have somebody here that is intimately familiar with what's going on in the certification world, and how your skills get past that, some of the rules, the policies, the certification guidelines, all of that stuff. I mean, I'm pretty well versed in it as well, but Scott takes it to a whole new level. So I'm glad he's here. In the meantime, I'm waiting for some questions in the chat. And while we wait for those, Scott, I actually wanted to show people something. Oh, actually, we've got a couple things coming in here, so maybe I'll wait on that. Is it your team that provides feedback for skill improvement outside of certification?
Yeah. I mean, it depends, I guess, if that's what your question is. We absolutely help guide people as to what skills, how it will work, and we can answer questions as to, if you have a question as to like the functionality towards working some specific thing to get done. Sure, yeah, we can help. My team has been doing this since the beginning of Alexa. So in the beginning, quite a few people would write in asking like, "What do I do?" And so we tended to just answer and help and guide people. We kind of give a good guidance for what to do. Yeah.
Got it. Very cool. Well, we do have a question from Milton, and I have a good answer for this one. So it's a long question. I'm going to read it out loud, and then we can dive into it a little bit. What happens if you use the same invocation name as another skill? I'm assuming you mean somebody else's or even your own. We'll get into that in a second. I presume that the two will compete. I want to make sure I get this right. For the set of users who have similar utterances, depending on some algorithm. How does that change when you implement can fulfill intent? So let me give kind of the base here, Scott, and then maybe I can let you add anything that I've missed onto this. So when you create a skill, we don't. It's not set up like domain names where there's a land grab and everybody runs out to get the name that they want in the hopes that they ever use it. I know I have at least a dozen domain names that I own right now that I shouldn't own because I'm not actually using in any way. But the point with Alexa is that we wanted people to be able to use the name that was appropriate for their skill, assuming that they're not violating any copyrights or trademarks. And so the way that it generally works is when you ask for a skill, you are going to get the one that you already have enabled. So as an example, I know there's a number of CatFax skills. And so if you say open CatFax, if you enabled one before, then the CatFax skill that you've enabled will be the one that is triggered. If you've enabled 2 skills on your account that have CatFax as the invocation name, it's going to use the one that you did originally. So if you have multiple skills that have the same invocation name and you say open CatFax, it's going to do the one that you enabled first, the oldest one. And the second one will then just sit by the wayside. But if you were to disable that first one, the second one then would become the second one. So the interesting question, though, is about how does this happen when someone has not enabled any of these? How do we decide which one? And then how does that affect things with the can fulfill intent? Scott, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a big one. It's like the CatFax is an obvious one that you can go right to, but like one of the bigger ones that jumps to my mind is radios, like radio skills, radio stations. There are so many the Hawks around the United States, like so many, like 92.9 the Hawk, you know, like it, I don't know, like there are so many of them. So how do we choose which Hawk gets enabled? You know, honestly, I think it does go back to like the first one that you enabled, but it's just going to give you a random one. I think it bases it off of your choices. I think.
Yeah, and like he said, I'm sure that it's based somewhat on some algorithm that determines which of those 80 CatFax skills are actually the most used or the most appealing to important. Yeah. Taking other customers' considerations into mind. So yes, there is an algorithm, but it's not something that would be published or accessible or gameable. I think it will vary skill by skill for sure. So Trey, going back to the previous question, Trey last asked, he said he's received unsolicited suggestions for skill improvement from the Alexa skills team. Is that something that would come from your team? Something he didn't ask for. This isn't a case he opened or a question he asked. Just someone reaching out and saying, hey, you should really consider this.
Oh, no.
Okay.
We don't just randomly grab people and say, hey, make your skill better.
Right.
That's not what we do. But we are, I mean, I can absolutely help if you have any questions or if you're like, what can I do to make this be better? But we don't just reach out and grab people unless if your skill isn't functioning properly or something, like if the audio stream isn't playing right or an answer doesn't come back right or something like that, and we have randomly found it that it's broken somehow, then the certification team will reach out to you and say, hey, by the way, your skill's broken, here's why, and fix it. And then you do, and then it's fine. Yeah. But other than that, no, we don't do that.
That makes sense. All right. So we have our first, this is the first time we've ever broadcast on YouTube, Scott. Yeah. And we have our first YouTube question. And I'm really excited to answer this because I think there might be a lot of people in the chat that also have some answers for him. And the question is, hey guys, for someone that has never built an Alexa skill before yet, where would you suggest starting to prevent getting overwhelmed? Do you have a place that you recommend people go to? Yes.
First and foremost, I am not, so you guys kind of get to know me a little bit better. I am not massively tech when it comes to like my thought process, when it comes to building skills. Like there are tons, I mean, of course I can send you like GitHub repositories for days, but like the first thing you want to think about when you're building a skill is what you want your skill to do. You really want to really want to think about the concept behind what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build. If you want something to just open your garage door opener, there are a lot of skills out there that you could either kind of look at and see if you like them, change and do whatever you want, make something different for yourself. But for me, like building a skill it's important to start with like, how do I want this thing to even work? Like, is this even worth building? Like, should I even do this? It seems like I have a really good idea and now I need to know like where to start. There is some really great information that we have kind of cobbled together, a bunch of resources and things that we can send out to you if you like. All you have to do is just open a contact us case and say, hey, where do I start building skills? And we will absolutely send you the the massive amount of information that we have for you. But yeah, I like to start with like, is this a like this idea? I think this idea is good. And like, how am I gonna, like, how does it get out to people? How does it affect people? Is it something that I think people will enjoy, or is it something that we all need? And then just start and just go from there. It's really great. We offer all kinds of help. This is
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys is start where you want to start. But when you have questions, reach out. Use that contact us form. Use the mechanisms that are there in front of you. And the link that I shared with everybody, which if you want to look up on your machine too, it takes you to a very specific page on our website. But it's alexa.design/start. And it takes you to the, like, what is an Alexa skill? How does it work? Where do I get started? With links to lots of great resources. So that's generally the one link that I'll give people if I just get to share one. There's also a fantastic series on YouTube since we're talking to you on YouTube, Jordan, and it's called the Alexa Zero to Hero series. It was put together by a couple of my colleagues in Europe, and it's also a very good series. That's provided here in the chat. But let me see if I can copy that and drop it over to YouTube also.
There's also a really cool tutorial called the Cakewalk tutorial that will actually help you build a really simple, really easy skill that will allow you to learn how the skills work, and you just crack one out, and it's real great. It's really easy.
Yeah. I think that got renamed to Cake Time.
Cake Time, that's right.
But I
it was
agree.
Cakewalk to start, right? Yeah, now it's Cake Time. That's right, because we changed it.
Yes.
Right.
But yes, Cake Time is another great tutorial. There's a GitHub repository. There's all sorts of great stuff for it. So phillipsinc.net says Dabble Labs also has some really good info. I'm sure they probably have some good stuff on their website as well. And that's one of the things that I found about this community, specifically speaking to Jordan, who said he's never built a skill but wants to, is this community is fantastic. One of the other things that I really should mention as we're sharing links, let me come into the chat here and just drop this one. Alexa.design/Slack. Scott, are you in this yet? Have you gotten into that?
Oh no, I just got this yesterday. I just found this. No, I haven't. It's amazing.
So the Alexa Slack here. I'm gonna jump to a different view. Let me see if I can share my screen. We'll do this one. And now we can see my screen. This is Alexa Slack. So if you just go to alexa.design/Slack, you can join automatically. You just create an account and jump in. And this is a community of Alexa skill builders. They build hardware, they build software, they build skills. They think about voice design. And there's channels for all those kinds of conversations. So this is something that we're really excited about. It's only been out a couple of weeks. So it's still relatively new, but we already have, I think, 100 people in here, which is great. And we would expect that to grow. We're going to be announcing it much broader, louder later this month. So I would expect that we're going to see a lot of new people joining us. But if you're looking for a community of people to talk to and share ideas and ask questions, this is also fantastic because a lot of the people that are in here are actively building skills every single day and are incredibly knowledgeable, sometimes more so than some of the Amazon folks. So it's really, really nice to have that kind of access to those people. And Scott, I look forward to seeing you there, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, so this is kind of like my jam. The biggest thing that I'm really interested in is the community. I generally that's kind of my background. That's where my whole career I've spent working with people. So like this is kind of it's cool to be able to get to actually hear conversations between developers and like actually find out what the questions are and stuff, because it's immeasurably valuable to find out what we're actually all working on instead of what's been prescribed. So it's pretty cool. I would recommend that. Yeah.
And that's the point of things like office hours too, right? You and I and folks on our teams have opportunities to talk with developers, hear their questions, understand, what they know and what they want to know and what kind of directions we can help them succeed with. And so I think this Slack is going to become an integral part of that as we go forward. Phelps Inc. says these office hours have been very helpful too. Yeah, and that's why we're here. We're here to answer your questions, help you solve these problems. Let's see. Milton said, I think some of it depends on how much you like programming. He's going back to where does a beginner start? There are a lot of tools that allow people to create skills without programming. And if you're new, they can help you understand how Alexa works. So that's another thing to consider, Jordan. I have a giant pile of resources that I can share with folks. I'll stop sharing my screen now. history. But one of the other things that I like is blueprints. If you just want to get your hands dirty a little bit and make some custom things happen on your device, you can go to, I think it's blueprints.amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
And my video froze. I knew we would eventually have this, Scott. So my camera is having some issues. Everyone's like to freeze.
Serious look on your face right now.
I know, and we're going to be stuck with that until I can deal with it. So blueprints.amazon.com is a way to create kind of custom skills based on specific templates, to-do lists, and all sorts of activities for your family, and custom like interactive stories. There's all sorts of neat stuff in there. And so that's another thing to check out. If you just want to get your hands a little dirty, it's something fun, especially if you have kids, to be able to play with, because they can then build them themselves and make things happen for Alexa. So it's all great. So I know I'm looking
at a lot of fun. The blueprints are that's where I got started. Like when Alexa was invented, and I was like, oh, neat. And then I kind of I thought, well, can you make it like say stuff and do stuff? And well, I mean, yeah, kind of. But like I found out about skill building, and I was like, well, that's way too complex. I'm not really. But then I found out about blueprints, and it kind of got me into skill building. Blueprints are how you can set up silly stuff for your house, like when you say red alert, or like when you say a command phrase and she'll speak something back to you, or a randomized thing blueprints are honestly like your point and shoot. That's like where you start having a lot of fun. And when you start getting bored with blueprints, that's when you start building skills. Because it's just like any kind of training wheels thing. I think we lost Jeff. Did we lose Jeff?
No, I'm still here. I just don't have a camera.
Okay. I was like, wow, I'm the star of the show. So no, it's a really great way to get started on just kind of like how Alexa works, like how like the speech patterns, as well as like the amount of time it takes to do stuff, and just kind of like that. It's really hard that you can't mess anything up really, and it's all done from your app on your phone. So it's super simple. I did not have a huge tech background when I started, and I mean I've gotten quite a bit better now. But to be honest, like I'm kind of the person that likes to represent the people who want to be involved in Alexa, who really want to try, but I don't have 35 years of programming. Like I don't speak 7 different programming languages. And Jeff, do I still have you? My goodness, I think I am the star of the show. All right, well, let's keep it going then.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I may just not have a camera for a little bit. I'm working on it. It seems like it's working, but I can't seem to get it there. So I'll continue playing with this.
Okay.
But, so you said you don't have 35 years of programming though?
No, I don't really I don't have, I know a little bit I can speak a little bit, like I can get past, but when I started, I just jumped into Lambda. I just jumped into AWS, the entire AWS concept. I started just kind of digging through and finding out. For me, I came from the early half of my career was in sales. So for me, it was a lot easier to kind of think of it as like product knowledge. And so I went through and started researching each and every thing on that AWS offers. And it just kind of flowed into itself. My education, it just kind of came from figuring stuff out. The only reason why I'm saying all of this is because don't get discouraged if you're not a super tech programmer guy, because to be honest, I am not either. And I was able to find some stuff and just get started on one step, and then get started on the next step, and get started on the next step. And when I got real confused, I started talking to the community. And I'll always get an answer from the community, within a day. I don't think I've ever had a question go by without at least 3 or 4 times, either on Twitter or on the forums, or So yeah, give it a shot. Blueprints are awesome.
They are. All right, Jordan has another question, and we can probably go on a long discussion about this, but it's what got my attention, same as a lot of others too, I'm sure, is the opportunity to create skills for revenue share based on demand and what's needed. Is there a specific resource for that area? So let's talk about monetization of skills for a little bit. I'm sure the audience will have something to say there too. But there's a couple of different ways that you can make money by creating skills. The first one, and probably the most elusive, is something we call Alexa Developer Rewards. And this is a program that we've rolled out that basically there is a pool of money every month. I don't actually know the size of that pool of money, or do I know the algorithm for qualifying for it. But by having what we consider a popular skill, you will probably, in a specific category, you will probably end up earning some of the developer rewards if you have a popular skill in a specific category. But it's, like I said, it's a bit elusive. It's not necessarily predictable because you don't know who you're competing against. And we don't know anything about how much money it is or how it's actually measured. And I think that's all by design. So that's the first one. It is something that can happen if you build something that's popular and you just keep your eye towards, I want to build something that a lot of people want to use. There's a good opportunity for you to land in there. The second one is through what we call in-skill purchasing, or ISP. And in-skill purchasing allows you to sell digital products inside your skill. So if you have hints or weapons or any kind of digital thing you might have in a game or some kind of skill experience, all of those can be sold, and people can buy them just with their voice. So you could say, hey, you're facing that wizard again. Do you want the shield of deflection or whatever? And you're like, yeah, I need that shield of deflection. It's going to cost me $1. I'm in. And so you buy the shield of deflection, and then you go battle the wizard, and boom, you've defeated him. Or you could probably grind and find your way through beating that wizard, but this is a much easier way to do that. W. Giorgio calls out one of his skills. It's called Cards of Wonder, and it's got a little of that to it, but certainly has some in-skill purchasing in it. So that kind of purchase that I described, that's considered a one-time purchase or an entitlement. But there's also the concept of consumable purchases like coins, where you might buy 10 coins and you use them up, or hints and you use them up and then you have to buy more. So those entitlements are things that get consumed. I'm sorry, entitlements are things you keep forever, and consumables are things that you use up over time. And then finally, we also offer subscriptions. And so in the subscription model, you can make people purchase a subscription. You can set how long it is. You can even set trials. So if people want to have a 7-day trial or something, you can allow that. And in these trials or in these subscriptions, you can make it so that you have premium content that's available, or like I'm building a trivia game. Maybe they can choose to unlock a bunch of categories with having a subscription, or maybe it's a news-based service or whatever. But you can use those subscriptions how you'd like. So that's another way to make some money from your skills. The third way, and this is where you see companies like Starbucks and Uber and Domino's, is they're using either their own credit card processing services or something like Amazon Pay to provide real-world physical goods and services to companies or to their customers. And so you can order a Starbucks from your house before you leave to go to the store, or you can order an Uber right from your Echo. All of these are, again, ways to make money, but all of them require a slightly different approach, right? You're not going to have in-skill purchasing in the same skill that you would sell a coffee from Starbucks. I mean, maybe you would, but it seems like you'd probably choose one model or the other. So yeah, there you go. There's your coffee. So what's your experience with monetization and skills, Scott?
It's hard. It's tough. Like we have been banging our heads against the wall to try to figure out the perfect golden ratio for exactly to make, how to make people make money on skills. And we've found we have several models that work just fine. It's real hard to kind of figure out what's going to take off. Alexa's brand new. She's 5.5 years old now.
Yep.
So we still are figuring some stuff out. It's hard to try to figure out how to make money with something that is so new, but I always thought that there is an opportunity for companion skills. Like if I'm reading a book, if I was reading a book and I had a skill that could tell me about the background of every character in the book, you know what I mean? Or if I was playing, if I'm playing D&D, then I have a skill that is a companion that goes along with being a dungeon master, so that I can actually pull up a drop, or I can pull up a device and, hey, we got Jeff back. And we can pull up something that goes along with it. I don't know. That's the problem, is that it's so hard to tell who's going to buy stuff,
Yep.
But the models that we have right now are working, and they're doing fairly well. We're always encouraging people to try that stuff out. It's hard, we need to find that one spot. Hopefully somebody watching this might actually find it, and we'll actually everything will be fantastic. But I love the idea. I think that there could be some easier pathways to try to make money with Alexa. Melvin mentioned earlier hiring yourself out to build skills. That's a great way to make money with Alexa. That's because people, car lots, newspapers, places like that, they want skills. People want skills. So that's an opportunity. I think Mark Cuban said something along the same lines as well.
He did. I was actually there when we interviewed him.
Nice.
And that was something he was very, very passionate about. As a kid, the story Mark Cuban told was, as a kid, like his first hustle was that he went and bought boxes of garbage bags, like lawn bags and stuff like that, in bulk from like Costco or something like that at a cheap price. And then he just walked around his neighborhood and sold boxes of garbage bags to his neighbors, who he realized, like, it's fall season, they're cleaning up their yards, they're doing all this stuff, and they need them. And they don't want to run to the store just to buy bags to bag up their leaves or whatever. So I'll sell them all the bags. And he sold them at a nice markup. And that was like his first hustle. And so the question that he answered was, what do you recommend 16, 17-year-old kids, even 14-year-old kids, what would their hustle be today? And he said, mobile apps, websites, and Alexa skills, like hands down.
Social media.
And Alexa skills especially, because the thing he looks at is, it seems really hard, but to do something simple with Alexa is actually surprisingly easy, but they'll pay because they think it's really hard. And so it's a remarkable way to think about just building a little high school hustle for yourself, or, even if a 42-year-old hustle, that's fine too. But like being able to do that, to be able to build some skills and play around, it's also a bunch of experience that you can then parlay into a job if you want.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. There's a lot to offer. It's like we've all been given a new medium, and we all have to just kind of figure it out. That's the thing. It's the beautiful part about working in Alexa, is that this is not something that we're relying on the developers. Like you guys are the ones that are changing this and constantly moving things. And we are constantly surprised as to what we see when people are like, hey, I'm having a submission problem with this thing, and I'm looking at their skill, and it's just absolutely amazing. The way that they have built it, the way that they've used something new, or used an old tool in a new way. And it's just really cool. And we're constantly surprised by the developer community. And so I have no doubt that, it'll happen. It just takes time. We just got to figure it out,
Yes, that is exactly right. And speaking of that, as I wait for some more questions, there was something that I wanted to demonstrate to the audience, because I wanted to get their feedback. Speaking of taking a slightly older technology and using it in a new way, I've been playing with this concept of, have you worked much with multi-value slots? Have you seen those, Scott?
Yes, I'm not an expert.
No, that's quite all right. I'm not either. Becoming one quickly though. So I am giving a big presentation. We do these things called Alexa Tech Talks every month. And later this month, like the last week of February, I'm giving a talk all about multi-value slots and how you use them. And it's not only just how you use them and the technology, but then we're also going to dive into the controls framework and use controls framework to set up a bunch of stuff with multi-value slots as well. But I wanted to show people something, because I've been playing around with this idea, and it's an interesting approach to using multi-value slots to solve a different problem. So I'm sure you've helped some developers work through their issues with account linking. That's something that people have a lot of challenges with sometimes. This is what I think is a proposed solution for getting around account linking. So let me show you. So I have, I'm going to bring my screen up here in a second. So let's share my screen, and maybe this might have been actually what killed my camera, but we'll see. Share my screen. Okay. Sharing my screen, and that did actually do it. That's what kills my camera. That's really fun. Okay. So you are still moving and good. So on my screen here, I have the developer console. And if I come into my interaction model, I have this slot called Get Words Intent. The proposal that I'm making is that I have a slot called Words that right now it has 948 values in it. These are just random nouns that all are distinctly different. So I wouldn't have like I and I's in there. They're all completely different words. But then the idea is when the skill starts, in order to authenticate you, let's use like Domino's Pizza as an example. In the Domino's Pizza app, they have a part in their app where they're like, hey, you want to use this, Alexa? Just say, ask Domino's about, and then the 3 words that we give you. And it's a randomized 3 words out of this 948 that are presented to that individual user. So it ends up looking something like this. Open. Come on. I don't know what just happened there. This is the name of my skill, passwords. And
welcome to Uber. Before we begin, what is your 3-word passphrase?
It says, hey, what's your 3-word passphrase? I'd love to know that. And so I use 3 words that I was given from the skill. So I might say like elephant, taco, baseball.
I heard you say elephant, taco, baseball. Is that correct?
And then I say yes.
Thanks for riding with Uber, Alice. Would you like to book a ride?
And so because of that one little nuance, because I just presented those 3 words, and that is a 1 in 1 trillion combination based on the math that I put together for this, I can then instantly know who the user is because I had those 3 words paired with them in my database. This takes me completely around account linking. I just think this is kind of a fun, interesting idea. I'm not endorsing this in any way. I'm not saying that everybody should go try something different, but this is a really interesting way to think about using something like multi-value slots as a way to solve problems. Yeah, homonyms and all that kind of stuff are out, trade last. I agree. But my goal is to get this up to about 2,000 unique words that all sound different. And then at 2,000, we end up at just under 1 trillion combinations. So this seems like a really good possibility for how we would think about doing account linking, because then I know who they are. I've now paired their identity in a way that doesn't require me to go through the traditional process. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you, Scott.
That's really cool. Anything to kind of try to not have to use account linking is amazing.
Right.
It's honestly, it is just the system. You stare at this system and you look at it and you know, okay, everything is going, it's fine, everything's right, lined up right. I've tuned the code, everything's perfect, it still doesn't work. Oh man, this is a great idea. This is fantastic.
So I have to talk with a lot of teams before it becomes an official thing that I would recommend to people, but I've started those conversations, so we'll see what we can do. All right, Oxygen Box says, you may not be able to answer this kind of question, but it's been said regarding the state of the evangelism team. It seems like it's been cut down. Is this a result of the pandemic and the inability of evangelists to get into the field? Or as a developer, should I view this as a signal that Amazon is shifting their focus on Alexa technology? I think I can answer this pretty fairly. If you look internationally, Amazon is structured in a way where businesses are run basically by their own countries. And so Europe kind of works as an EU combination, but Australia and Japan and India and everything else, they have their own very small marketing teams that handle all of the stuff related to Alexa. And so as that, each country generally had 1 or 2 evangelists. Well, they've shifted their focus. People weren't let go. I think the priorities just changed. And what we're seeing is a lot of the international evangelists that we had on the team are now working more as solution architects with their biggest customers in those countries, because they don't have the staff or the budgets like the United States has to be able to run a marketing team and a business development team and a solution architect team and a developer advocacy team and all these other things. But I know, Scott, you still have a pretty significant team internationally, right?
Oh yeah, we're robust.
So in that regard, no, I don't think that I would indicate that any of this is a scale that Amazon is shifting their focus around Alexa or their priorities. As far as the US team goes, you've probably noticed that a couple of people have moved to other things, but that was actually every person that moved that was their choice. They found a new team inside Amazon. And that's the good and the bad about working at a place like Amazon, is that there's a lot of cool jobs. And in the case of my job specifically, it's very public. You guys all know me, you know what's going on, you see me day to day. And so when I disappear, or Justin Jeffers disappears as an example, it seems like, oh, did he get let go? Did he do something wrong? And it's not that case at all. In fact, there's so much opportunity, so many cool things to do here at Amazon that a lot of times we get drawn to something else and we're like, you know what? I want to go try that for a while. And so that's been the case with Joe Moyo. He's still on the Alexa team, but he's doing some other things. Justin Jeffers has moved to another team that he's doing some awesome stuff. But it wasn't ever like, hey, we're scaling back. In fact, we're hiring right now. So if you guys are looking for opportunities to get in with the Alexa team, Amazon.jobs is where I would recommend you spend some time and check it out, because we do have roles open right now on our team, and we'd love to fill those in.
We're the best.
We are the best.
We are the best.
All right. So hopefully that answers your question, Oxygen Box. Luldy Labs says, any good examples of a small or local car lot size business with dedicated skills? Is there any reason why a very niche skill like this wouldn't be certified? Can you answer? Yeah, let's go, Scott.
So no. First of all, that's exactly the kind of thing that that you can make a skill for. So back in the beginning of the session here, I was talking about what somebody asked the question, how do I get started and where do I go? And I started off with your concept. That's where you start with this. So your concept is, I'm a car lot. How do I use Alexa to help me sell cars? You can't use blatant advertising to barge into people's houses and just start blasting car, ads. Plus, it's 2021. We're all tired of car ads that are from local companies, like, my God. So there is you can reach out to a local car lot and see if there is anything that updates that they could send out, like any kind of options on, if you purchase a car from them, then you can get the access to the skill, and you can ask the skill questions like, can I bring my car in for service, or when's the next time I can, and then maybe have the skill access their database so that they can find out when there's a slot open for the mechanic. And you can do, that's just a Dynamo DB. That's easy. Really any kind of online sharing. But so, that's the kind of thing that we do. We love. It's creative. It's different. It's something that the car lot themselves. If I was a car lot and you were the skill builder, and you came to me and said, "Hey, I made you this skill, and it allows you to do all your stuff with your mechanics, and it also tells you when your salesperson is in, or if they're in today. I guess not like their schedule, but if they're in today or something, that you can ask them a question, or allows you to send them a message, ask them a question, they can listen to their voice messages.
Yep.
There are, just basically take everything that you can do with Alexa and then apply it to that one thing. And it suddenly opens up a whole new field of skill building.
One of the things I recommend to people, I refer to it as the Dorothy Gale rule, if you're familiar with the Wizard of Oz. But if you go to we're using a car dealership specifically, but this applies to any small business. If you go to a car dealership's website and you want to know a specific piece of information, it's highly likely, the way they've structured it, that it's going to take you more than 3 clicks to find what you want. You're going to have to dig in. You're going to have to search for cars. Maybe you're going to have to try and find a specific contact information. All of that stuff is really hard to find for whatever reason, but that's how they do it. And so my rule, this Wizard of Oz rule, is that if it takes more than 3 clicks to get to on their website or their app, these are the things that are absolutely perfect for Alexa. Because if you go to the website and you want to do all that stuff, you've got to find it and click and hunt and do whatever. But if I could just speak to a device and say, is Carl working today? Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Or can I schedule an appointment? Well, maybe we're not doing full schedule appointment capabilities baked right in. That's a big lift.
Big one. Yeah, God.
They could say, hey, we'll call you. When's a good time? Mm-hmm. And then now you have them calling you at a time that's convenient for you, and you're going to get somebody. There's lots of little things like that are pretty easy to do.
Oh yeah, we love that stuff. It's essentially all we're trying to do with Alexa is try to make society and all of the little things that we do easier, just accessible by voice. Honestly, like the Star Trek computer, I'm such a Star Trek fan. I'm the hugest nerd, and I love that concept. I've always loved that concept.
Yeah. I think that we've still, I mean, like you said, it's been 5.5 years. We have done a lot of amazing things with Alexa, but we've barely scratched the surface.
Oh yeah. Oh man, we aren't even close.
I think the problem is that the stuff that we really, really want is still really hard. There's a lot of technology and a lot of integration. There's two things specifically that I call out on this. One is, in order to do a lot of the things we want to do, I need an API for every bit of structured data that exists in the world. I just need access to all the data. There's all, like, I'm way deep, and the people that are watching this probably know this, but I got way deep during this pandemic back into my childhood baseball card collection. And in addition to cataloging the 20-some thousand cards that I had, I've also gotten back into like modern card collecting. And it would be so useful to me if Topps or any of the baseball card companies would create an API that just gave me a list of all the cards that are in a set, right? There's nothing proprietary or secret or hidden about that. Here's the list of cards. Here's their numbers. Here's the names of the players. Like, all of that would be so massively useful in so many different applications, but nobody's built it. Doesn't exist.
That's it right there. That's the biggest problem, that it's because somebody has to do it.
Right.
If nobody does it, then it doesn't get done.
Right.
Data's there.
And so if you think about being able to mix and match all of that data together, on top of being able to integrate with all the existing systems that are out there, one of the stories I tell about where I want the future to go, this doesn't seem that hard, but when you really get into it, there's a lot here. When I think about scheduling an appointment for my dentist, it's nothing anyone wants to do anyway, but you have to go twice a year, and that's just how it is. I would so much rather my personal assistant just say, hey, Jeff, you have an appointment in 2 weeks with your dentist. That is the entirety of my interaction. I never asked. I never said anything. I never did anything. But my assistant was able to say, you know, it's been almost 6 months. I should look at his dentist schedule. I should see when they have an open appointment. I should look at Jeff's schedule and see what his appointment looks like. I should contact his health insurance company and make sure he's eligible to get another cleaning. And I should use all of that data to just schedule something on the dentist calendar and Jeff's so that he has a dentist appointment at a time that's convenient for him. Boom.
That's cool.
Right? I mean,
That's cool.
It's all possible today. It's just that no one has made any of that accessible.
Mm-hmm.
All of our software systems are closed and locked down, and that needs to change, at least for the stuff that's not private. I wouldn't want to be able to dive in and find out when your doctor appointment is or what your health record looks like. That's private stuff.
No, but, you know, blockchain, we have the answer to all of this, the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're trying to protect data and use a single source, we can absolutely use the blockchain to protect everything.
Right. It seems like a valid way to go. I mean, it does get heavy. They're talking right now. They were talking about all the Bitcoin that Tesla just bought, and how that single transaction cost as much as one Tesla driving 5,000 miles in electricity costs. Right? Like,
I just want my video card. Okay. I'm trying to play Star Citizen and I can't get a video card. I just want my video card.
I was very lucky. I walked into a Micro Center a couple months ago and they had just gotten a shipment of 3070s. And I was like, I will take one. But they're hard to come by, man. For sure.
They sure are. How much you still have that? Or, I mean, we'll talk later.
I do. It's powering the machine we're using right now. All right, let's see what else. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Mixing the local question with my invocation question is, what is the best way to make a local skill easily found if it has a simple or common invocation name? So I get the question that you're asking, Milton, and I want to make sure that I copy this because I'm keeping a list of our questions to pass along to our product teams and everybody else. But Milton always had some very insightful questions.
This is a good one. Yeah.
There isn't a way that I'm aware of for a skill to designate its location, although that would be an interesting thing to look at. And because of that, we don't each skill doesn't have the ability to recognize what a user's location is. So it would be pretty hard to match, but I do see what you're saying. If I have, in your fantastic radio voice you used earlier, Scott, the hawk, if I say play the hawk, it should be able to consider what my local consideration is. And if there's 50 different skills named the Hawk, depending on what the numbers are and location in the country, because I think in Seattle, are you in Seattle?
Yeah.
Okay. In Seattle, they have a Jack FM that I tune into once in a while, and like there's 1,000 Jack FMs, right?
They're across the whole country.
So, but I think with Jack FM, they play the same music everywhere. It's the same broadcast regardless of the city you're in. But for something like Hawk, where it may be a different broadcast, different DJ, it just happens to have the same call signal. It seems like it would be nice to be able to pair up a skill with a user's locale, but I don't think that that's possible at all. Like that would have to happen on our side.
Isn't that a setting like? So if you're setting up a skill to, if you want Alexa to find your local radio stations, I guess you could ask. I mean, she has location services, and those companies are listed locally. So I'm trying to think about how you would go about putting that in, though. It's an interesting.
I feel like the skill itself doesn't have any kind of like structured data to say this is my home base.
Yeah.
Like it would almost be interesting for a skill to be able to optionally choose a GPS coordinate and a radius, like 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever.
Well, like you can say near me, like like show me where can I get a burger near me or nearby, and she'll give you a local recommendation. So I know it's in there. I mean, we can use I don't know. I wonder if like there's an intent that we can use that would either substitute or allow you to substitute information that. Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
That's an interesting one.
I'm going to talk to the tag team about this. We're going to talk about this later today, and I'll have an answer for you guys.
Cool. I still feel like there's so the skill itself has to know where it is.
Right.
Today, that doesn't exist.
Right.
I know where the user is, assuming they grant me permissions to that data, but I don't know where the skill is. And so it would be really interesting as part of the metadata, maybe part of the publish, to be able to say, pick a point on a map and choose a radius of 5, 25, or 100 miles, or infinite, right? If you're just a universal skill. And then it could, like the Alexa engine, the one that's determining which skill you should go into or which one you find, could be dictated by matching your location with the location of skills. But there isn't really the concept of a local skill right now. Skills are universal always.
Oh, that's a really good point.
This is pretty cool though. I like this. This is going to make it to some feedback for our product teams. Treylas asked, Jeff, what was my experience with the Genoa Township skill? So I live in an area of Ohio called Genoa Township, and I built a skill for the local township. They have the trustee board meeting every 2 weeks or whatever, and they found that on the website that was one of the most popular features, was to tune in and listen to either a live or recorded version of the board meeting. And that's where they decide like how much money they're going to allocate for snow removal and how much salt to buy to cover the street, like all the municipality boring stuff. But people are tuning into that. So I built a skill that would play those, as well as answer a whole list of questions about like when parks are open and where parks are located. Like, we have a nice little community here. And my experience with that skill trade last was that no one used it. I wish I could say that wasn't the case, but it's really hard to promote it, right? Most people aren't paying attention to their local municipality and the cool technology they have available. So we pushed it out on the Facebook page and the Twitter feed and like in a newsletter. But we got some users, there was a dozen or two, but it she found the person that was running it at Genoa, I built it so that she could just add files and do things and the skill would change. And she just found it wasn't worth her time to be updating it in all these places when, for 12 users or whatever. So it has since died. It does not exist anymore, and that's okay. But I think that was the beginning. That was my first idea on like the idea of a hyper local skill.
I feel like that's going to be a big hit or miss. Like a local skill, I think first of all is a fantastic idea. I think that it's going to be a hit or miss, and the only reason why is because the people that live in that area have got to want it. So I live in a small town in Washington. I don't live like in Seattle, but I live in a very small town, right, real close to Seattle, and I know that the people here would love it. There is a lot of spirit in this town. There's a lot, they love it. It's a very old town, hundreds of years old. It's one of the first pioneer towns. So, you know, the people that live here love it, and they've passed laws for anybody to change it. Like they can't let they won't let, you know, like any kind of major construction happen. Like there's not going to be a Walmart here anymore anytime soon,
Right.
you know? So that's the kind of thing I would bet, like in Connecticut, Maine, I bet out in like in Boston, like in places that have a solid, like a spirit of the area, and the people that are really dedicated to maintaining that spirit, I bet that is where a local skill would really fly.
Yeah. For sure, and for that municipality, for finding out when when trick or treating is going to be, or finding all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it seems like it would be great to be able to answer those questions for a user.
Yeah.
But as Phelps Inc. calls out here, education of the user base is what drives that opportunity. If the community doesn't know it exists, they can't use it. And I think that's something that we're working to solve on our side, right? By thinking about name-free invocation. And when I say when is trick or treating, like that should be like, oh my gosh, I need the hyperlocal skill for this thing. They probably know that, or they should know that. I think that kind of stuff really drives an amazing experience. But it comes down to data. Who's running that skill? Who's keeping it up to date? That's where it all comes back to data every time.
Yeah, somebody's got to put that stuff in there. That's the thing. It's so funny. About, like, you know, when I came to work at Amazon, before I came to work at Amazon, I always thought that it was like this big, you know, like monolithic kind of machine but it's just humans. We're just people.
It is.
Everybody in here is we're all just working jobs, and it's just people doing stuff. And that really can be, it's funny because I heard the same sentiment being echoed by President Barack Obama when in his book, when he was talking about what it was like to work at the federal government. It's just people.
It is.
People have got to do stuff. And if I mean, earlier we got a question about the evangelism team, and it's just like, you know, people like to do stuff. People like to go, and we try new stuff, and we go somewhere else, and it's fun. Plus, this is a weird culture, so it's, you know, it's kind of weird, but
it's a quirky place. I like it.
Yeah, this is really fun. I love the whole concept of getting to talk to people directly like this is amazing. I'm used to talking to small crowds, not, you know, hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Yeah, no, we just got to do it. We just got to get out there and put that data together and make an API and use it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. They were discussing like how 800 numbers know your location and stuff. I mean, a lot of that is transmitted just because of the phone systems. We don't have that luxury here, but they're talking about quick links too. Have you played with quick links at all?
Yeah. Oh,
they're basically a way that you could like put this on a website or a mobile app, and you can say, hey, like start this skill on my device.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean quick links? We have an internal thing called quick links. No, but yeah, no, that's, I mean, sure, that would be. All
right, so we've got a couple of big questions that have come in here right at the end. So let's see what we can do our best to answer these. Data-driven skills says, I really, really want Alexa to be able to listen to me and tell it an open, long-winded answer. I agree with you. I think that the challenge is, the question for you is, what do you want to do with that? Like being able to listen, to be able to open the microphone and listen for a while is all fine and good, but you have to capture all of that as audio. And then that audio has to be translated into speech. And that speech has to then be handed to you as text. And so the question is, you want to be able to tell stories. That's interesting. But what do you want to do with that? Like, do you want to capture those stories then and be able to retell them? Because I think what the thing I'm getting at is, the question you're getting at is, I want a dictation machine. I want a machine that will allow me to dictate what's going on and be able to capture all of that and record it. What I have found is that Alexa in general, and I'd love your perspective on this too, Scott. What I've found with Alexa is that it is not designed to do dictation. It's designed very well to be able to recognize patterns using machine learning against the words you use and the words it's expecting. What you're looking for is just pure dictation. So obviously the capabilities are there, But the way that Alexa is structured today is not really accommodating to that. You could use something like the search query slot to be able to capture a whole bunch of words at once, but I can't promise it's going to be pure dictation because it's doing interpretation. It's doing natural language understanding as it does that translation, and it's possible you may get the wrong words. So that's my little diatribe on dictation. Scott, do you have any more to add to that?
So there's a step that, so in the beginning, I really wanted captain's log. I wanted to be like, captain's log, start date, and be able to actually like record my thoughts and record, ideas and just be able to speak. I thought, and then I found out that I couldn't do it and I was a little upset. But I understand exactly what you're saying. It seems like it should be there, but it's like, why? Hang on, it doesn't work. But the point that Jeff is making is actually really important. Like, what do we? I know that we want to save the data, but there are already a lot of other products that actually do that for the long, expanded. If I want to sit down and tell a story, then I can do that. If you want, but where Alexa comes in is how you access that technology, I think. So I know that there's one that you just put a headset on. I don't know how it would interface with Alexa. I've never even thought about building a skill for this, but that's kind of what we're doing. Using that, holding onto that data is a lot. There's a lot involved in that. There's a lot involved of us because we're going to take it and then we hang on to it and then we do all of our stuff to hand it back to you. But then, like in that process, there's stuff involved. We have to talk to, the legal department. There's this whole other part about protecting privacy that there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of in the middle there that really removes the joy out of that kind of a skill. So it ends up taking way more than what you really wanted to do. And plus it's not even possible. We don't really have it longer than the 8-second mark.
Right.
But I do love this idea. I love the captain's log idea. I've being able to just share your ideas and stuff throughout the day without having anybody listen.
Yeah,
They judge you.
As data-driven adds to his question, it's also a huge PII issue, right? If I allow a developer to capture all the words that a user is saying as dictation, and I'm only as careful as I am today about the microphone being open. It's very possible that they could go off and say social security numbers and all sorts of other stuff in their kitchen.
Yeah.
All of that stuff happens all the time. I joke all the time that like I could be talking to Alexa and then my wife's like on the phone with the doctor. Hey Jeff, what's your social again? And I send my social to her and boom, now the device has captured it also.
Yep. This is bad.
Those kinds of things are pretty bad, but I could see a first party controlled experiment where we just build a captain's log feature that no one can have access to the data but us, and we save it for you. And of course, you can control it as the user and delete it anytime that you want. That seems interesting to me.
Honestly, like there's been a few different kinds of approaches to this that I really I've always thought was interesting. It feels like to me that that generally speaking, users, the idea of being able to speak your words and hold them, privately is something that people want. I don't know how many. We don't know how large the audience is, but it's something that people apparently are thinking of. So It's absolutely something that's achievable, but you can't just crack it out on a skill on Alexa. Right. You've got to figure out a way to do it. And AWS has a ton of stuff that you can do that with.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to build your own engine to do this, you can. I think people like the idea of the device just being already on my counter. I'm a big fan of blockchain. Honestly, if you're worried about the privacy aspect of it, there is no better way to lock it up. I'm a big fan. All right, there was one other question. I want to make sure I don't miss it. I thought it came from Trey last, but maybe I'm wrong. W. Giorgio, do you have an example of name-free intent requests? I don't. Do you have anything you would say to that question?
Name-free intent request. In what regard?
I think he's asking, like skills can be triggered without actually using the name of the skill, right? NFI will allow them to do that.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, and so he's asking for an example of that. I think W. Georgia, I think I have to punt on that one. I don't have an answer for you on that.
Well, there are skills that you can use that are either very close to the core functionality of Alexa or that they've been worked in some way. Like shopping lists, that kind of thing. Add to my shopping list, or think. It doesn't require you to say ask name of skill blah. It
Right.
you just do it. None of them are coming to the top of my head. I can look them up, but yeah.
No, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very productive conversation. First of all, if you guys didn't know this, Scott and I have never met before right now.
Yeah.
So this was a great conversation. I'm glad we got a chance to do this.
Yeah.
I've got a nice long list of questions. Scott, I'll share this with you afterward. And we'll try to track some of these down and answer them for next week.
Awesome.
But we are at time. So, Scott, I want to say thanks so much for joining me today. This has been super awesome to be able to, one, meet you, but two, discuss some of these difficult concepts.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm extremely happy to be here. Hopefully I get to come back,
Yeah. Oh, we'll definitely have you back, man. This has been great.
Yay.
All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We will see you again next week. Don't forget, there is an APL Power Hour every Wednesday at this same time on this same channel. So join us there. And then on Thursday, I'll be interviewing one of our Alexa champions on Alexa and Friends at this same time. So keep your noon Easterns open, and we'll see you guys all very soon. Bye, everybody.